They say nice guys finish last. What they don't tell you is that sometimes we finish with a plan. My name is Kellan Brooks, and I'm about to tell you how being too nice nearly ruined my life, and how I fixed that problem with surgical precision. I'm 39, work as a maintenance supervisor at Midwest Industrial, and until 3 months ago, I thought being reliable was a virtue. Turns out, in marriage, reliability ranks somewhere between watching paint dry and discussing tax law. You're just too nice, Kellan. That's what my wife Zara told me on a Tuesday night in March, right after I'd finished fixing the garbage disposal she'd been complaining about for weeks. She was leaning against the kitchen counter, scrolling through her phone with that look, the one that said she'd rather be anywhere else. Too nice? I asked, wiping grease off my hands. Since when is that a bad thing? She didn't look up from her screen. Since always. Women want excitement, danger. They want bad boys. I should have seen it coming. The signs were there, scattered like breadcrumbs through our 7-year marriage, the constant texting, the sudden interest in girls' nights out, the way she'd started dressing like she was 25 again, all tight jeans and low-cut tops for trips to the grocery store. Zara's 36, works in marketing and social media for a local real estate company. She's got that polished look that takes 2 hours to achieve but pretends to be effortless. Auburn hair, green eyes, and a smile that used to make me forget whatever stupid thing we'd been arguing about. These days, that smile was reserved for her phone. Maybe I should get some tattoos, I said, trying to joke. Start riding a motorcycle to work. Maybe you should, she replied, and something in her tone made my stomach tighten. That night, I lay awake listening to her breathe beside me, wondering when I'd become the enemy. When had fixing things around the house become boring instead of helpful? When had having a steady job and a mortgage become liabilities instead of achievements? Apparently, owning a house and being reliable is only attractive in mortgage commercials. The next few weeks were a masterclass in willful blindness. I told myself the late-night texts were work-related. The new perfume was for confidence. The way she'd started locking her phone was just a privacy thing. I even convinced myself that her sudden interest in going out every Friday night was healthy. Couples need space, right? Wrong. The truth hit me like a sledgehammer on a Thursday afternoon in April. I was home early, dealing with a burst pipe in the basement, when I heard voices upstairs. Zara's laugh, high and flirty, followed by a deeper voice I didn't recognize. Told you he'd be at work until 6, she was saying. Good, the male voice replied, because I'm not done with you yet. I stood there in my own basement, wrench in hand, listening to my wife entertain another man in my living room. The smart move would have been to march upstairs and confront them. The nice guy move was to wait, to gather facts, to be reasonable. For once in my life, I chose option 3, strategic patience. I slipped out through the basement door and drove around the block, parking where I could see my front door. 20 minutes later, a guy emerged. Tall, lean, covered in tattoos, walking like he owned the world. He climbed into a beat-up pickup truck and drove off, leaving me with a perfect view of his license plate. Liam Red. That's what the DMV search told me later. 32 years old, no permanent address, bouncing between temp jobs and his sister's couch. A real catch. That night at dinner, Zara was practically glowing. Good day? I asked. The best, she said, not meeting my eyes. Spent the afternoon with Monique, planning her birthday party. Monique's her best friend, or was, until I found out she'd been covering for Zara's afternoon adventures. Amazing how quickly people choose sides when there's gossip to be shared. I started paying attention after that. Really paying attention. The security camera I'd installed last year to watch for package thieves suddenly had a new purpose. The motion alerts on my phone started telling a story I didn't want to read. Tuesday, 1:47 p.m. Motion detected at front door. Tuesday, 4:23 p.m. Motion detected at front door. Wednesday, 2:15 p.m. Motion detected at front door. Always when I was at work. Always lasting 2 to 3 hours. Always followed by Zara being in an unusually good mood. I downloaded the footage and watched my marriage crumble in high definition. There was Liam, swagger in every step, letting himself into my house like he lived there. There was Zara, greeting him at the door in outfits I hadn't seen her wear for me in months. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. The final straw came on a Friday night in late April. Zara announced she was going out with the girls. Again. I nodded, said I'd probably work on the garage, and watched her get ready. She spent an hour on her makeup, chose a dress that cost more than my monthly car payment, and kissed my cheek like I was her brother. "Don't wait up," she said. I waited exactly 30 minutes, then drove to Murphy's bar downtown, where she'd claimed to be meeting Monique and Ash. No sign of them. I checked 3 more places. Nothing. On my way home, I spotted Liam's truck at the Sunset Motel on Route 9, and there was Zara's car, parked right beside it. I sat in my truck for 10 minutes, engine running, hands gripping the steering wheel. This was it, the moment every cheated-on spouse faces. Storm in and make a scene, call a lawyer, cry. Instead, I drove home, opened a beer, and started making a list. By midnight, I had 17 items written down. 17 ways my life was about to change. 17 steps from nice guy to something else entirely. When Zara came home at 2 a.m., smelling like cheap cologne and making excuses about Ash's car trouble, I was waiting in the kitchen. "How was girls' night?" I asked. "Fine," she said, not meeting my eyes. "Ash got a little too tipsy, so we had to wait for her to sober up." "That's funny," I said, keeping my voice level. "I called Murphy's looking for you around 10. They said you never showed." For just a second, her mask slipped. Fear flickered across her face before the defiance kicked in. "We changed venues," she said. "Went to that new place on 5th Street. The one that's been closed for renovations all month?" She stared at me, trapped, but still fighting. "You're being paranoid, Kellan. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You're suffocating me." "Am I?" "Yes, and honestly, I'm getting tired of it." I nodded slowly, like I was considering her words. "You know what? You're right. I have been too nice." Something in my tone made her pause. For the first time in months, she really looked at me. Not through me, not past me, but at me. "What's that supposed to mean?" she asked. I stood up, walked to the sink, and rinsed out my beer bottle. When I turned back, I was smiling. "It means things are about to change around here. Starting tomorrow." She opened her mouth to respond, but I was already walking toward the stairs. "Good night, Zara. Sleep well." Behind me, I heard her call my name, but I didn't stop. I had work to do. The nice guy was about to clock out permanently. Saturday morning arrived gray and drizzling, perfect weather for what I had planned. Zara was still sleeping when I slipped out at 6 a.m., coffee in hand, heading to my first stop, the bank. "I need to set up a trust," I told Janet, the manager who'd handled our accounts for 5 years. "And I want to restructure some things." Janet's a sharp woman in her 50s, who's seen every financial disaster imaginable. She took one look at my face and didn't ask questions she didn't need answered. 2 hours later, the house was in a family trust with me as the sole trustee. The joint checking account was frozen pending restructuring. Our savings had been moved to a new account with only my name on it. Everything legal, everything documented, everything reversible if this was all some terrible misunderstanding. But it wasn't a misunderstanding, and we both knew it. Stop 2 was the locksmith. Dave's been changing locks in this town for 20 years, and he doesn't gossip much. "All the exterior doors," I told him, "and the garage." "Zara locked out?" he asked, working on the front door. "Not yet," I said, "but she will be." He grinned, and kept working. Dave's been through 2 divorces himself. By noon, I was at U-Store on the east side of town, renting a 10x10 unit under my cousin Tyrese's name. Tyrese runs a moving company and owed me a favor from when I'd rewired his warehouse for free. "You sure about this?" he asked, watching me load boxes into his truck. "Positive," I said, taping up another box of Zara's clothes. "She wants excitement? She's about to get plenty." Tyrese shook his head but kept loading. "Your funeral, man." "No," I corrected him. "Theirs. The beauty of living with someone for 7 years is that you know their routines better than they do. Zara would sleep until 10, spend an hour on social media, then start her Saturday beauty ritual. She'd be occupied until at least 2 o'clock, giving me plenty of time to pack up everything that belonged exclusively to her. Clothes, shoes, makeup, books, that collection of scented candles she never burned, all of it went into boxes. I was methodical, checking twice to make sure I wasn't taking anything that could be considered joint property. Her grandmother's jewelry, her college textbooks, the designer purse collection she'd been building since we got married, packed away like she'd never lived there. I left the furniture, I left the wedding photos, I left everything that said married couple and removed everything that said Zara. At 1:30, my phone buzzed. Text from Bree, my neighbor across the street. "Z is up. Saw her in the kitchen window." Bree Corlin is 62, retired, and knows everything that happens on our block. She's also been suspicious of Zara's afternoon visitors for weeks. When I'd mentioned my marital difficulties to her yesterday, she'd volunteered to be my early warning system. "Thanks," I texted back. "Show starts soon." I finished loading the last box and headed home. Zara's car was gone. Probably went to get her nails done. Another Saturday ritual. Perfect timing. I spent the next hour going through her computer, the one she'd left logged in on the kitchen counter. Amazing what people leave open when they think they're safe. Facebook messages with Monique, planning cover stories, texts with her sister about finally feeling alive again, and best of all, a whole conversation thread with someone named Ashley about selling my tools on Facebook Marketplace. Screenshots of everything went into a folder labeled Evidence. I printed the most damaging ones and put them in a manila envelope. At 3:15, Zara came home. I was sitting in the living room reading a book when I heard her key in the lock. Then I heard her trying the key again. Then I heard her swearing. The doorbell rang. "Kellan," she called through the door. "The lock's broken." I marked my place in the book and walked to the door, opening it just wide enough to see her face. "It's not broken," I said. "It's changed." "What do you mean, changed?" "I mean I had the locks changed. You don't live here anymore." The color drained from her face. "You can't do that. This is my house too." "Actually, it's not." I held up a legal document. "As of this morning, the house is in a family trust. You're not family anymore. That's illegal. You can't just lock me out." "It's not illegal when the person being locked out has been bringing her boyfriend over for afternoon visits. When she's been planning to steal and sell her husband's tools. When she's been lying about her whereabouts every weekend for 2 months. Zara's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Behind her, I could see Liam getting out of his truck, trying to look intimidating in his leather jacket and ripped jeans. "Problem, babe?" he called out. "Yeah," I said, stepping onto the porch. "Big problem. You're on my property." Up close, Liam was less impressive than he'd seemed through the security camera. Skinny rather than lean, with the kind of tattoos you get in someone's kitchen rather than a professional shop. His tough guy act might work on Zara, but I've dealt with actual tough guys at work sites for 15 years. "Your property?" Liam sneered. "Zara lives here." "Lived," I corrected, "past tense, and you've been trespassing, repeatedly." "You can't prove that." I smiled and pulled out my phone, opening the security camera app. Tuesday, 1:47 p.m. You, entering through the front door. Wednesday, 2:15 p.m. Same thing, Thursday. Okay, Zara interrupted. So what? We're married. I can have guests. You can have guests, I agreed, but you can't steal from me, you can't lie to the police, and you can't live in my house while planning to rob me blind. I held up the manila envelope. Facebook messages about selling my tools, text conversations about your boring husband and your exciting new life, bank records showing you've been moving money to a secret account. Should I keep going? Zara grabbed for the envelope, but I pulled it back. Call the police, Liam said. This is harassment. Great idea, I said, pulling out my phone. Let's call them right now. I've got plenty to show them. For the first time, doubt flickered in Liam's eyes. Zara looked like she was going to be sick. Where am I supposed to go? She asked. That's not my problem anymore, I said. You wanted a bad boy? Congratulations. Maybe he can provide for you. Liam puffed up his chest. I take care of what's mine. Then you better start, I said, because visiting someone else's house and sleeping in someone else's bed doesn't make you a provider. It makes you a parasite. You son of a… Careful, I interrupted. We're still on my property and I'm still recording. Liam's hands clenched into fists, but he wasn't stupid enough to throw the first punch, not with witnesses and cameras around. This isn't over, he said. You're right, I agreed. It's just getting started. I stepped back inside and started to close the door, then paused. Oh, and Zara? Your stuff is in storage unit 47 at U Store it on Highway 9. The key's under the mat at Monique's house. I figured she'd want to help since she's been so supportive of your new lifestyle. The door closed with a satisfying click, leaving them standing on the porch in the drizzle. Through the window, I watched them argue beside Liam's truck for 10 minutes before driving off. Then I called Bree. Show's over for today, I told her. That was better than cable, she said. What's next? Now we wait for them to make their next move. And then? Then I make mine. I poured myself a drink and settled back into my chair. The book was good, but not nearly as interesting as the show about to unfold in my own neighborhood. Outside, the rain kept falling, washing the street clean. Sunday morning brought sunshine and police officers to my front door. 2 of them, Officer Martinez, who I'd met at a neighborhood watch meeting, and a younger guy whose nameplate read Johnson. Mr. Brooks, Martinez said. We need to talk to you about a domestic dispute. Of course, I said, opening the door wide. Come in. Coffee? They exchanged glances. Most people don't invite cops in for coffee when they're in trouble. Your wife filed a complaint, Johnson said, pulling out a notebook. Claims you illegally locked her out of her residence. Ah, I said, heading to the kitchen. She would claim that. Cream and sugar? Martinez followed me, looking around the house. This is about the locks? It's about a lot more than locks. I handed him a mug and pulled out a thick folder from the counter. But yes, I did change the locks, after I discovered my wife has been conducting an affair in my house, planning to steal my property and lying to law enforcement. Johnson's pen stopped moving. Lying to law enforcement? Check your records from Friday night. She claimed to be at Murphy's bar with friends. I have security footage of her at the Sunset Motel with her boyfriend, plus receipts showing she was never at Murphy's. I opened the folder and spread out printed screenshots, bank statements, and security camera stills. This is Liam Red, I said, pointing to a clear photo of him entering my house. He's been visiting my wife every Tuesday and Wednesday afternoon for 6 weeks. Here's the motion detection log from my security system. Martinez studied the papers while Johnson took notes. These Facebook messages, I continued, show my wife and her friend planning to sell my tools without my knowledge or consent. That's theft. These bank records show unauthorized transfers from our joint account to a personal account I didn't know existed. That's also theft. What about the house? Johnson asked. The house is in a family trust, established legally yesterday morning. Here's the paperwork. My wife is not a beneficiary of the trust, and given her recent behavior, she's not welcome on the property. Martinez looked up from the photos. This is pretty thorough, Mr. Brooks. I'm a thorough guy. It's why I'm good at my job and why my marriage lasted 7 years before my wife decided she needed more excitement. She says you're being vindictive. I'm being protective. There's a difference. Johnson closed his notebook. We'll need to file a report, but based on what you've shown us, you're within your rights. The house is your property, and if you have evidence of theft and adultery. I understand she has rights too, I said, but those rights don't include stealing from me or bringing her boyfriend into my home. After they left, I called my boss, Jim Duffy. Jim's run the maintenance department at Midwest Industrial for 12 years, and he's seen every kind of workplace drama imaginable. Kellan, it's Sunday, son. This better be good. It's not good, Jim. It's complicated. I need to give you a heads up about something. I explained the situation, keeping it brief and factual. Jim listened without interrupting. So, you're telling me your wife's been cheating and now she might try to cause problems at work? It's possible. She's desperate, and desperate people do stupid things. Well, hell. Thanks for the warning. You need some time off? No, sir. Work's about the only normal thing in my life right now. All right. Keep me posted if things get weird. Things got weird on Monday. I was replacing a motor in Building C when my phone rang. Jim's number. Kellan, I need you in my office. Now. I found Jim behind his desk, looking annoyed with a printed email in front of him. Sit down, he said. Tell me about your wife's concerns regarding your mental state. My stomach dropped. She emailed you? She emailed HR. They forwarded it to me. He slid the paper across the desk. According to this, you've been displaying erratic behavior, making threats, and she's concerned you might become violent at work. I read the email, feeling my jaw tighten with every line. Zara had painted me as an unstable husband having a breakdown, suggesting the company should monitor my behavior and consider whether I should have access to tools and equipment. Jim, I said carefully, do I seem unstable to you? Son, you're the most level-headed guy in this department, but I have to ask, is any of this true? I pulled out my phone and showed him the same folder I'd shown the police. This is what's true. My wife's been having an affair, planning to steal from me, and now she's trying to get me fired because I won't let her walk all over me anymore. Jim studied the evidence, his expression growing darker. She's trying to make you look crazy so she can claim you're the problem, he said finally. That's exactly what she's doing. Well, it backfired. I'm forwarding this whole mess to our legal department. If she keeps harassing my employees, she's going to hear from our lawyers. I appreciate that, Jim. You're a good worker, Kellan. Don't let this garbage distract you from your job. But the harassment was just getting started. Tuesday brought a visit from Monique, Zara's best friend and partner in crime. She cornered me in the parking lot after work, all fake concern and crocodile tears. Kellan, honey, we need to talk. No, we don't. Zara's devastated. She made a mistake, but she loves you. Can't you forgive her? I kept walking toward my truck. She didn't make a mistake, Monique. She made a choice, multiple choices, for months. Everyone deserves a second chance. She had 7 years of chances. She used them up. Monique grabbed my arm. If you don't take her back, she's going to ruin you. She has photos, recordings, things that will make you look bad. I stopped walking and turned to face her. Are you threatening me? I'm trying to help you. No, you're trying to blackmail me, and you're doing it badly. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Say that again, about the photos and recordings. Monique's face went pale. I didn't mean. You meant exactly what you said. Zara sent you here to threaten me with fake evidence unless I take her back. That's extortion, Monique. It's also stupid. You're crazy. I'm documented. There's a difference. I got in my truck and drove away, leaving her standing in the parking lot. But I didn't go home. Instead, I drove to Liam's sister's apartment complex on the south side of town. Finding him was easy. His truck was parked outside Building B, music thumping from the open windows. I parked next to him and got out. Liam emerged from the building carrying a beer, trying to look casual. Well, look who's slumming. We need to talk, I said. About what? About boundaries, about respect, about what happens to people who take things that don't belong to them. He set down his beer and stepped closer, trying to use his height to intimidate me. You threatening me? I'm educating you. I pulled out my phone and showed him a photo, him entering my house clear as day. This is called trespassing. This, I swiped to another photo, is called breaking and entering, and this, another swipe, is called being stupid enough to get caught on camera. So what? You can't prove anything. I can prove you've been in my house without permission. I can prove you've been sleeping in my bed. I can prove you've been stealing my food, using my shower, and wearing my clothes. I leaned closer. Yeah, I know about the clothes. You're not as smart as you think you are. Liam's tough guy mask slipped. Look, man, I didn't know you were going to be a problem about this. I'm not a problem, I'm a solution. Your problem is that you thought you could play house with someone else's wife in someone else's home without consequences. What do you want? I want you gone, out of town, away from my wife, my house, my life. And if I don't go? I smiled, the same smile I'd given Zara on Friday night. Then you'll find out what happens when nice guys stop being nice. Something in my expression made him take a step back. This isn't over, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. Yes, it is. You just don't know it yet. I got back in my truck and drove home, feeling better than I had in months. The evening was clear, my house was quiet, and my plan was working perfectly. Tomorrow, things would get interesting. Wednesday morning brought the first real test of my strategy. I was having coffee on my front porch when Bree came over, practically vibrating with excitement. You need to see this, she said, holding up her phone. It's all over Facebook. She showed me a post from a local buy and sell group. Someone had listed my entire tool collection, professional-grade equipment worth thousands of dollars, for ridiculously low prices. The seller's profile showed Zara's photo but used the name Sarah Mitchell. She's actually trying to sell your stuff, Bree said. The comments are brutal. I scrolled through the responses. Half the people were asking why the prices were so low. The other half were calling it suspicious. Someone had already commented, "These look like stolen tools. Nobody sells a $500 impact driver for $50 unless something's wrong." Screenshot everything, I told Bree. This is evidence. Already did. Posted it in the neighborhood watch group too. People are not happy. Good. Let them be unhappy. I spent my lunch break that day making phone calls. First to the police, reporting the attempted theft. Then to Facebook, reporting the fake profile. Finally, to Liam's current employer, a temp agency that supplied workers to construction sites around town. This is Kellan Brooks, I told the supervisor. I need to report some stolen tools and I think one of your workers might be involved. It wasn't technically a lie. Liam had been in my house, he knew about the tools, and he was certainly involved in the scheme to sell them. By Thursday afternoon, Liam was out of work. Again. Friday brought phase 2 of my plan. I'd spent the week preparing, gathering intelligence, making connections. Now it was time to act. I started with Liam's truck. The beauty of working in maintenance is that you learn to be creative with limited resources. You also learn that the most effective solutions are often the simplest ones. At 2 a.m., I slipped out of my house and walked the 6 blocks to his sister's apartment complex. His truck was parked in the same spot, windows cracked open because the air conditioning didn't work. I poured a gallon of spoiled milk into the cab through the driver's side window, followed by a bag of glitter I'd bought at the craft store. The combination would create a smell that would take weeks to eliminate and a mess that would be impossible to clean completely. On the windshield, I left a note. Nice boys play clean, bad boys play dirty, enjoy the cleanup. Saturday morning, I was drinking coffee on my porch when Liam's sister came storming across the neighborhood, dragging him behind her. "Which one of you did this?" she shouted at the general vicinity of my house. I stepped onto the porch, coffee mug in hand. "Did what?" "Someone trashed Liam's truck." "That's terrible," I said, not bothering to hide my smile. "Any idea who might want to do such a thing?" Liam looked like he hadn't slept. His clothes smelled sour, and there were flecks of glitter in his hair. "You," he snarled. "This is harassment." "This is consequences," I corrected. "You take things that don't belong to you. Things stop working out for you." "I'm calling the police." "Great idea. While you're at it, ask them about the theft report I filed, and the trespassing charges, and the fake Facebook profile your girlfriend created to sell my property." Liam's sister looked between us, finally understanding that her brother had stepped into something bigger than he could handle. "Liam," she said slowly, "what did you do?" "Nothing. This psycho is—" "He's been sleeping with a married woman in her husband's house," I interrupted, "using her husband's shower, eating his food, planning to steal his tools. Real classy guy you're housing." The sister's face went through several expressions before settling on disgust. "Are you kidding me? Ask him about the security cameras. Ask him about the police reports. Ask him about why he got fired yesterday." "You got fired?" she asked Liam. "It's temporary?" "It's permanent," I said. Amazing how quickly word spreads in the construction community when someone's involved in theft. The sister turned and walked away, leaving Liam standing on the sidewalk. "This isn't over," he called after her. "Yes, it is," she called back. "Pack your stuff. You're out." Liam stood there for another minute, glaring at me, before following his sister back to the apartment complex. I waved goodbye with my coffee mug. Sunday brought Zara, desperate and alone, to my front door. She looked terrible. Unwashed hair, yesterday's makeup, clothes that had been slept in. "Kellan, please," she said through the door. "We need to talk." "No, we don't. I made a mistake. I know that now. He's not what I thought he was." "Shocking. I want to come home. This isn't your home anymore. I'll break up with him. I'll delete his number. I'll do whatever you want." I opened the door just wide enough to see her face. She looked pathetic, standing there in the morning sun, trying to salvage something that was already ruined. "What I want," I said carefully, "is for you to understand that actions have consequences. You chose excitement over stability. You chose lies over truth. You chose him over me. Those choices have results. I choose you now." "Too late. I've made my choice too." "What choice?" "I choose self-respect. I choose dignity. I choose not to be married to someone who thinks I'm boring and disposable." Tears started running down her face. Real ones, not the fake crying she'd used to manipulate me for years. "Where am I supposed to go?" "Figure it out. You're a smart, independent woman who doesn't need a boring husband holding her back. This should be easy for you." I closed the door and walked back to my coffee. Through the window, I watched her sit on the porch steps for 20 minutes, crying and making phone calls. Finally, a taxi came and took her away. That afternoon, Bree knocked on my door. "The whole neighborhood's talking," she said. "People are taking sides." "What's the score?" "About 90-10 in your favor. Turns out nobody liked Zara as much as she thought they did." "And the 10%? "Mostly people who think you should forgive and forget. Forgiveness is earned. She hasn't even tried to earn it." "What's next?" I looked out at the quiet street, thinking about the week ahead. Liam was homeless and unemployed. Zara was discovering that her support network wasn't as solid as she'd believed. The legal system was slowly grinding through their various crimes and misdemeanors. "Now we see how long it takes them to leave town," I said. "And if they don't?" "Then I get creative." Bree grinned. "This is better than reality TV." "This is reality. TV wishes it could be this good. Monday morning brought news that made my coffee taste even better. Jim called me into his office with a grin on his face. "Legal called," he said. "Your wife tried to file a harassment complaint against the company for enabling your unstable behavior." And our lawyers sent her a cease and desist letter. Turns out making false accusations against someone's employer is a good way to get sued for defamation. "She won't stop," I said. "She's desperate." "Then she'll learn the hard way. How are you holding up?" "Better than expected. Turns out I like living alone." "Good man. Take care of yourself." I spent that week watching Zara's world crumble from a distance. Bree kept me updated on the neighborhood gossip, and social media filled in the rest. Monique had stopped returning Zara's calls after I'd recorded their conversation. Ash, the third member of their little group, was suddenly too busy to hang out. Even Zara's sister had gone quiet, tired of the constant drama and requests for money. Liam, meanwhile, was bouncing between friends' couches and cheap motels, burning through what little savings he had. His tough guy image was taking a beating as word spread about his situation. Thursday evening, I was grilling dinner on my back patio when I heard raised voices from the street. Through the fence, I could see Liam and Zara arguing beside his damaged truck. "Told you this would work out," Zara was saying. "Nothing's working out," Liam shot back. "I'm homeless, unemployed, and my truck smells like a garbage dump." "It's temporary. We just need to wait for him to calm down." "He's not calming down, Zara. He's destroying us. He's just being vindictive. He'll get bored." I almost laughed. Vindictive? I was just getting started. Friday brought the opportunity I'd been waiting for. The annual neighborhood block party was scheduled for Saturday, and as the guy who fixed everyone's electrical problems and helped with home repairs, I was practically guaranteed a friendly audience. I spent Friday evening making calls, talking to neighbors, spreading the word that this year's party would be special. "Just make sure everyone knows they're invited," I told Bree. "Everyone except the 2 people who don't live in the neighborhood anymore." Saturday afternoon, my front yard was packed with neighbors, co-workers, and friends. I'd rented a sound system, set up tables of food, and created the perfect stage for what was about to happen. At exactly 3 p.m., right on schedule, Zara and Liam showed up. They parked across the street and sat in his truck for 10 minutes, probably working up the courage to crash the party. Finally, they got out and walked toward my yard like they belonged there. The conversations gradually died as people noticed them. By the time they reached the edge of my property, the entire party had gone quiet. "Kellan," Zara called out, trying to sound casual. "Great party." "Thanks," I said, not moving from where I stood near the sound system. "But I don't remember inviting you." "It's a neighborhood party. We live in the neighborhood." "No, you don't. You live wherever you can find someone to take you in for the night." Liam stepped forward, trying to look intimidating. "We have as much right to be here as anyone." "Actually, you don't." I picked up the microphone and turned on the sound system. "But since you're here, maybe everyone should know why." The feedback from the speakers got everyone's attention. Neighbors stopped eating and turned to face me. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said into the microphone, "I want to thank you all for coming today. Most of you know me as the guy who fixes your garbage disposals and helps you move furniture. What you might not know is that I've been dealing with some personal issues lately." I looked directly at Zara and Liam. "See, it turns out my wife decided our marriage was boring. She wanted excitement. She wanted a bad boy. So she found one." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Several people turned to stare at Zara and Liam. "Now, having an affair is bad enough," I continued, "but these 2 decided to get creative. They brought their romance into my house, into my bed, while I was at work. They used my shower, ate my food, and planned to steal my tools to fund their exciting new life together." Zara's face was bright red. "Kellan, stop this." "Oh, I'm just getting started." I held up a folder. "See, When you're married to someone who works in social media, you learn that everything leaves a digital trail. Text messages about how boring and stupid I am. Facebook posts about finally feeling alive. Plans to clean out my bank account and disappear. The crowd was completely silent now, hanging on every word. The best part, I said, warming to my theme, is that after all this planning, after all this scheming, they're both homeless. Turns out being a bad boy doesn't actually pay the bills. Liam started walking toward me, fists clenched. Shut your mouth. Or what? You'll hit me in front of 50 witnesses? Go ahead. I could use the assault charges on top of everything else. He stopped, realizing he was trapped. The really funny thing, I continued, is that Zara thought she was trading up. Stable job for unemployment. Homeowner for couch surfer. Reliable guy for someone who can't even keep his truck clean. Several people in the crowd started laughing. Zara looked like she wanted to disappear. So here's my advice to all the married couples here today, I said. If you're bored with your spouse, try talking to them. Try counseling. Try anything except bringing strangers into their house to steal from them. I turned off the microphone and set it down. The crowd erupted in applause and cheers. Zara was crying openly now, mascara running down her face. Liam looked like he wanted to fight someone but couldn't figure out who. You're all pathetic, Zara shouted at the crowd. You don't know what really happened. We know enough, called out Mrs. Henderson from 3 houses down. We've seen his truck parked here during the day. We're not blind. And we've seen you sneaking around, added Tom from across the street, acting like you were doing something wrong. Because she was doing something wrong, I said. Multiple somethings. For months. Liam grabbed Zara's arm. Come on, we don't need this. No, I agreed. You need jobs and a place to live and some self-respect. But you threw all that away for excitement. They pushed through the crowd toward their truck, followed by catcalls and laughter. Several people applauded as they drove away. Well, Bree said, appearing at my elbow with a beer, that was educational. That was just the warm-up, I said. Wait until you see what I have planned for the finale. The party continued until well after dark, with neighbors stopping by all evening to offer support and share their own stories about Zara and Liam's behavior. Apparently, I wasn't the only one who'd noticed the pattern. By Sunday morning, the story was all over social media. Someone had recorded my speech and posted it online, where it was being shared and commented on by hundreds of people. Zara's reputation in town was finished. Liam's prospects for finding work or housing had gone from slim to non-existent. They were becoming pariahs, and everyone knew it. The nice guy was winning, and it felt better than I'd ever imagined. The end came on a Tuesday night in June, 3 months after this whole mess started. I was in my living room, reading and enjoying the peace of my Zara-free house when the security system chimed. Motion detected at the back door. I checked the camera feed on my phone. Liam was stumbling around my backyard, clearly intoxicated, trying to force open the patio door. He'd apparently decided that breaking and entering was his solution to being homeless and unemployed. I could have called the police. Should have, probably. But I'd been planning for this moment since the day I changed the locks. I activated the motion sensor floodlights I'd installed last week, turning my backyard into a stage. Then I opened the back door and stepped onto the patio. Evening, Liam. Lose something? He spun around, squinting in the bright lights. You ruined my life. No, you ruined your life. I just documented it. I'm going to make you pay. With what? You don't have a job, a home, or any money. What exactly are you going to use to make me pay? He charged at me, swinging wildly. I stepped aside and let momentum carry him past me into the kiddie pool I'd positioned earlier. The pool was filled with ice water and rubber balls. Nothing dangerous, but plenty humiliating. The splash echoed across the yard as Liam went down hard, soaking himself in freezing water. The motion sensors triggered more lights, illuminating the scene like a football stadium. Help! Police! Liam shouted, thrashing around in the shallow pool. They're already on the way, I said, showing him my phone. I called them when you started trying to break in, breaking and entering, trespassing, attempted assault. You're really collecting charges tonight. Neighbors started appearing at their windows and back doors, drawn by the commotion and lights. Someone was definitely recording this. Zara's car screeched into my driveway, and she came running around the house. "What did you do to him?" she screamed. "I defended my property against a drunk intruder. What did you think would happen?" She helped Liam out of the pool, both of them now soaking wet and shivering. "This is assault!" she shouted. "This is self-defense. He broke into my yard and attacked me. I have it all on camera." Police sirens were getting closer. Red and blue lights reflected off the houses around us. "You can't keep doing this to us," Zara said, mascara running down her face again. "We're human beings." "Then act like it. Human beings don't steal from people who trusted them. They don't lie to police officers. They don't break into other people's homes. We never broke in before tonight. No, you just committed adultery in my bed and planned to rob me blind. Much better." 2 police cars pulled up, followed by an ambulance someone had called. Officers Martinez and Johnson got out of the first car, looking unsurprised to see me again. "Mr. Brooks," Martinez said, "what's the situation?" "Mr. Red here decided to break into my backyard and attack me. When he charged at me, he slipped and fell in that pool. I've got the whole thing on security camera." Johnson was already taking notes. "Mr. Red, is that accurate?" Liam was shivering too hard to speak coherently. Zara tried to answer for him. "He was just trying to talk to Kellan. This is all a misunderstanding." "At midnight?" Martinez asked. "In someone's backyard? After forcing a door?" "We just want our lives back," Zara said. "Then you should have thought about that before you threw them away," I said. The paramedics checked Liam for injuries, nothing but bruises and wounded pride. The police checked my security footage and found exactly what I'd told them they'd find. Liam was arrested for breaking and entering, trespassing, and attempted assault. Zara wasn't charged, but she was warned about harassment and told to stay off my property. As they loaded Liam into the police car, soaking wet and covered in grass stains, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months: complete satisfaction. "This isn't over," Zara called out as the police car drove away. "Yes, it is," I said. "You just don't realize it yet." She stood there in my driveway for another minute, shivering and crying, before getting back in her car and driving away. The neighbors gradually went back inside, but not before several of them stopped to check on me and congratulate me on handling the situation. "That was something," Bree said, appearing with a blanket and a thermos of coffee. "That was the end," I said. "They're finished in this town." "What happens now?" "Now they leave. Tonight, probably. Liam's going to jail, and when he gets out, he'll have nothing left here. Zara can't afford to stay without him, and she can't show her face around town after this." "And you?" I looked around at my house, my yard, my neighborhood, all of it peaceful and secure again. I go back to being boring and reliable. Turns out those aren't character flaws after all. Wednesday morning brought confirmation. Zara's car was gone from the motel parking lot where she'd been staying. The storage unit had been cleaned out during the night. By Thursday, word was spreading that they'd left town completely. I never saw either of them again. The divorce papers were filed a week later. Uncontested, quick, and final. The house stayed mine, the debts were settled, and my life returned to the quiet routine I'd apparently taken for granted. 6 months later, I was having coffee on my front porch when Bree came over with her morning gossip update. "Heard from my cousin in Springfield," she said. "Guess who's working at a truck stop diner?" "Do I want to know?" "Zara, night shift, minimum wage, Liam's washing dishes in the back." "Sounds like they found their excitement. Sounds like they found exactly what they deserved." I raised my coffee mug in a toast. To nice guys finishing first. To nice guys finishing smart, Bree corrected. The morning was clear and quiet, exactly the way I liked it. boring, reliable, and completely mine. They say nice guys finish last, but they're wrong. Nice guys finish with self-respect, clear consciences, and houses that don't smell like betrayal. Sometimes that's the best finish of all.